She cheated while I was in the hospital. I 35 male, and this is one time I was cheated on by 37 female. When I was in my mid-20s, I had a girlfriend that I thought was amazing. Now there was some red flags that I chose to ignore, being how I'm not perfect myself. I'm not really gonna go into those red flags, being how they aren't important to the story. One day we got an argument, and I decided to spend a few days at my house just to rethink everything. On the second day she called me up, demanding I go over there to her house to talk. Reluctantly I agreed and got in my truck to head over. Now it was winter in the northern central states where we were living. My truck hit some black ice and slid into the ditch, causing it to flip multiple times. Well, I was in the hospital. She was blowing up my phone. I was unaware of this, being on my phone was in the truck somewhere. When I got out of the hospital, I contacted her, explained what happened, and she seemed just concerned about how I was doing. She did ask about if I got any of my messages, which I told her the truth, that I lost my phone in the crash and had no clue where it was or what happened to it. She sounded relieved. I just assumed she might have said some things out of anger that I never showed up. Well, was I wrong? It was 3 days before I got access to my truck. In that time, she was nothing but caring and concerned about how I was doing. Honestly, it was the nicest I have ever seen her. After seeing that sigh, I thought she could be the one. I seen how our old arguments were over just petty things, but this was the real her, at least until I finally got to my wrecked truck and was able to find my phone. Once I charged my phone, I got all her messages, including the ones where, since I was too good to show up, she was going to call a real man that would, plus the messages of everything she did with said real man. I think she missed her calling as an author, being how she left nothing to the imagination. When I confronted her about this, you would think she'd apologize. Instead, she only apologized that it happened while I was in the hospital, but refused to acknowledge she did anything wrong. We've since split up, obviously. My sisters still remain friends with her. I remain friends with her on FB and enjoy little updates about her abusive husband, how CPS took her children, her drug problems. As for me, this is not my worst relationship. I've had ones before and after that. I've been as bad, if not worse. I'm in my mid-30s now. I no longer choose to date. I do still hold women in high regards. My choice not to date anymore does not mean I have anything against women. Story 2. My father is divorcing my mom, and I know he's cheating. So a while ago, my mother, 50 female, and stepfather, 52 male, who I'll call Rob, announced they were getting a divorce. Rob said he went to a therapist and it was unreconcilable. He said he was unhappy and there was no way to fix things. I found this odd because my mother had been caught off guard by this and had no idea. I mean, if things were so bad, then there should have been some kind of sign. He also refused to try any steps to salvage the marriage. I decided to do some digging and was having a tough time of finding anything until I decided to go through phone records. Now my company won't give out details of texts, just the number it was sent to, and the same for phone calls as well as the dates and times. I spent hours going through all of the numbers and texts, and that's when I found a pattern. There were a few numbers that he called off and my mother's friends, work colleagues act. But then I started comparing the timing of the calls and found one of the number he would call during the early morning, the day, and late at night. At first I thought that maybe it was work, as he works for a large corporation and has a managerial role, so I started doing searches on the every number he called that I didn't have in my contacts as well. Lo and behold, the number he called most frequently was a work colleague, a female colleague, 33 female, whom I'll call Lisa, who Rob directly oversaw. Now before anyone says anything, the number of calls and the timing ruled out it being work-related. Rob literally called Lisa as soon as he woke up and before bed texted her while in bed next to my mother. I dug deeper into her life and found out she's married with 2 kids. However, she and her husband had coincidentally recently separated around the exact same time that he did with my mother. Lisa also just so happened to recently move to another location, albeit same department. Now under these circumstances, I'd be pissed, but the shit he's put me through throughout my childhood, it just enrages me. It made me sick to my stomach digging all of this up. I didn't want to break the news to my mom because she is the kindest woman I know who takes care of everyone. Rob, on the other hand, has been the stereotype of a bad stepdad. He was abusive throughout my childhood, and whenever he was angry, I was the target. Rob put his son 20 male, whom I'll call Brian, on a pedestal, who he himself was a complete jerk. He would bully my brother and if I tried to stand up for myself, Rob would come in and beat me up. I was always stronger, so when Brian would start hitting me and pushing me, I'd bear hug him and tell him to stop, and wouldn't let go until he agreed, or Rob came in and threw me on the ground. During Christmas, Brian would get everything he asked for, totaling up to several hundreds of dollars, and I'd get something cheap that was clearly walked by last minute and made it work. When my mom tried to stand up for us, he was turned his rage on her and yell at her and gaslight her. I'm the only one he laid a hand on, as far as I can tell, mainly because when he got enraged, I would get between because I couldn't let my little brother or my mom get abused like that. I think you all get the idea. The idea of him doing this to my mother makes me so angry, and I get this feeling I want to do something. I need to do something. I've thought about contacting his work for an inappropriate relationship. But now that she moved, I don't know if that will work. Plus, if he did lose his job, then there goes all my mom's alimony. I just don't know what to do, but it's been killing me inside. Story 3. Did my friend cheat on her boyfriend? Should I tell him? So a few weeks ago, I went to the club with 3 of my friends. My one friend, Lily, has been dating her boyfriend, Mike, for 6 months, and they have been living together for 2. I have known Mike and Lily for years as my friends, but only recently did they hit it off and get into a relationship together. While we were at the club, at one point in the night, I noticed Lily getting a little too close with some of the strangers there. She later came up to me and my other 2 friends and said this: "I need to talk to you about what qualifies as cheating. You might see me dancing on guys or flirting with them, but I'm only doing it to get a shot. It's not cheating, but please don't tell Mike. He will get really upset." A few minutes later, she was dancing on a random guy, uncomfortably close. It was really hard to watch knowing she has a boyfriend. I then saw her through the night flirting with other men and dancing with other guys. At one point, I even saw her with her head in some guy's crotch, but not once did she get a single free shot. After the night was over, we all went home. I ended up talking to my other friends who were there and I asked them their opinion. My one friend Ava said that she cheated on him, and so did my other friend Maxine. I know if I tell Mike, Lily will cut me off, and maybe my other friends too. I don't want to risk losing our friend group, but I really think Mike should know. What should I do?